Is Wake Up Dead Man better than Kenneth Branagh's A Haunting in Venice? What song is that title from? And will anyone ever add a Knives Out mystery on the end? Here to discuss these questions and more is Film Stories' Maria Latilla.
Hello.
As we dive deep into spoiler territory with Rian Johnson's third Benoit Blanc outing. Cue the jingle or something. This is a spoiler chat. We're going to be spoiling Who Done the Killing in Knives Out 3, brackets, Wake Up Dead Man, close brackets. So if you've not seen the film, go away. Maria, did you like the film?
I bloody loved the film. I can't imagine anyone not liking it, but I don't know. Did you like it, James?
Well, I'm sure we'll find somebody. I loved it. I think in terms of the Knives Out trilogy so far, I think it's better than Glass Onion. I think it's quite a lot better than Glass Onion, actually. I think it might almost be on par with the original Knives Out, which is, heresy to say, because that is a perfect film. I really, really loved this. It was maybe, I think, tonally more similar to the previous two than I was maybe expecting. I think they've done a lot of work with the trailer to make it into something slightly more horror elementy. And there's bits of gothicness in it, but definitely not gothic horror. It's more gothic in terms of like American gothic, But in general, it's light, it's fun, it has some none too subtle political parallels, which I love in a film.
None of the Knives Out films have any politics involved, do they?
No.
They're very fun and light.
It's the weird thing so far is Rian Johnson's always made such uncontroversial films. So what about you? Where does Wake Up Dead Man rank for you in Knives Out? Knives Out's?
I am going to be controversial and say this is maybe my least favourite.
Which is surprising coming from you.
Yeah, but it also isn't that much of a criticism. I think they're all brilliant films. So saying that this is the least fun for me is still, this is a very solid 4-star film for me. I like Glass Onion because it does something different. It takes, obviously, the mystery from the first one, kind of a similar mystery, and then it puts all these characters on an island and it's very contained. And that's what I really, really love about Glass Onion. Yeah. And I think this, like you said, it goes back to that kind of gothic feel of the first film. But I don't know. I found this a little passive, maybe. I found our favourite detective maybe a little passive in this one. But like I said, still loved it. Brilliant, brilliant film. So saying it's my least favourite is still saying this is a really good film.
Yeah. I mean, when you say passive, for me, I mean, he doesn't turn up until 45 minutes in, which is, I actually really liked, but maybe you felt differently.
I found the first 45 minutes a little on the heavy hand because it's all voiceover pretty much. So I thought it's a lot of voiceover without Daniel Craig. I think Josh O'Connor is brilliant, but I just needed it to kind of stop explaining everything to me, because obviously the structure is that, well, we find out later that actually the voiceover is the letter that Josh O'Connor's character is writing.
Yeah.
But because it just explains everything to you, I found it maybe a little heavy. And then finally, when Benoit gets over there, or becomes a part of the story, an active part, he's still quite passive. It felt like things were happening and he was more just observing more than he normally does.
A passive observer of the truth. That won't be the last Benoit Blanc impression on this podcast, I'm sure. Because speaking of Josh O'Connor, actually, he's so good in this. He's so good and so nice and lovable. And I think he just nailed the kind of, shucks, American kid accent. And
his accent was really good, because you never quite know when you're going to get either an American doing a British accent or a British actor doing an American accent. You never really know what you get. And I feel like his was really natural. I was very impressed.
You just forget about it. He's such a well-written and lovable character as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 45 minutes is all him essentially doing his own investigating in a way, sort of before the murders happen. Just talking to, getting to know all of the suspects. This is another thing. I love the lengths that murder mysteries have to go to get you, a limited list of suspects. And this time it's all of the non-famous members of the congregation have all been driven out by this radical preacher man. So we know that there are only 6 people there on Easter Sunday. Not Easter Sunday, sorry, Good Friday, which I gather from Christian types is very important, is a bit of an important day. I loved the first 45 minutes because I was having such a good time just hanging out with him. And then the moment when Benoit Blanc does come in, I think he is such a larger-than-life, an iconic character. Maybe like the only new iconic character in, this is going to be controversial, the only new iconic character in films from the last 10 years. I'm going to take a sip of coffee while you try and think of someone else.
I don't know if I disagree. I mean, this is a Netflix production, and Netflix hired Rian Johnson to do 2 sequels to the original Knives Out. That was their deal. Bring us 2 sequels, all is well. So that deal is obviously now done. So I do wonder, are we going to get loads more of these? And if so, is that status going to stay if we get more of them? Are they going to, I don't know.
I'm hoping for a sort of Agatha Christie level of productivity from Rian Johnson now that he's done. Like 2 a year.
2 a year? Jesus
2 a
Christ,
year. Some of them will be, and that'll be fine.
I mean, that's basically slave labor at this point. 2 of these a year. Poor Rian Johnson's going to have to start writing. I mean, this and Glass Onion were both nearly 2.5 hours long. Yeah. Have A-list cast, who I assume, cost quite a bit to get involved. I mean, Daniel Craig alone.
If I was, I'd do it for free.
Of course you would, but I don't know if Daniel would. I feel like Daniel has a family and he wants to provide along with his wife, Rachel Weisz.
Daniel was James Bond. Daniel does not have to worry about money.
Yeah, probably not. He's probably good. But he probably wants the money anyway.
Going in his bank account.
Yeah, but he also got Spectre. No one likes that.
It doesn't give you negative money. Just because you make a bad film, they don't.
Yeah, but you're going to have to give some of that money out just to make up for the fact that you made a really shit James Bond film.
Mr. Hollywood doesn't just walk into HSBC and make a withdrawal from Daniel Craig's bank account because he was in Quantum of Solace. Yeah, I really enjoyed the first 40 minutes. But I was wondering, speaking of Daniel Craig, I can't tell why Benoit Blanc hasn't become annoying yet. Because after 3 films, I'm still not tired of watching him do stuff at all. And his accent is very silly.
Yes, but he's not silly. It's not played for laughs. There was always a few lines and whatnot where, you get a good chuckle out of people. But he's never played for laughs. Now that we're on to the 3rd film, that accent has become normal. And in the first film, it was so kind of played as cool and, all the how he was framed and everything. I'm not saying that he never was, but now he's hella cool. We want to be Benoit Blanc. But no, I get what you mean about the accent because it is so exaggerated. But I think it's just very good casting as well. I think Daniel Craig is very good at that, towing the line of, am I taking the piss out of myself and this character? Or am I actually just playing it straight?
For me, that might be part of why the not turning up for ages works so well, is that you're not overplaying Anne particularly. But it's such a weird accent. It's come such a long way, from the reports from sort of the first table read in the first film, where apparently he just turned up at the table read and started doing the voice, and everyone was like, oh my God, what's he doing? He's going to ruin the film. And yeah, it has just become such an iconic character.
Yeah.
And during this conversation, it's just occurred to me that I could be Benoit Blanc for Halloween. I think I'd enjoy that.
Oh, the question is, what hairdo would you go? Because Benoit's got long hair in this, and I don't know if it suits him. It looked really straightened, like he's been standing in front of the mirror and just straightening it for hours. A bit too overstrained.
Well, I'll be honest, he's incredibly well dressed, so he clearly puts a lot of care and time into his appearance. So, it's perfectly possible that he was stood outside straightening his hair for an hour before he went in to go and see Josh O'Connor. I liked the long hair, actually, controversially. I think visually it adds extra dimension it adds a dimension to the film that his hair is maybe lacking in terms of volume. But I really liked it. It's not really much more to say on that, is there? It's just, he's got a nice haircut. I think it
Yeah.
actually suits
No.
Daniel Craig as well. I think he's got it cut slightly shorter now. It's just turning
Yeah,
into
I
a
think
Daniel
so.
Craig, like a red carpet watch. But I was watching an interview of him on a red carpet yesterday. I think he's nailed it. He's got it's swept back. It has like volume and heft to it.
Yeah, I want to know what hair care products he uses and
Oh,
whether or not I could afford them. Because
no,
he's got the James Bond money, so
no,
don't
don't be
know.
silly, Maria.
That's why my hair
There's no
just looks like this.
yeah. There's no way we can. That's why you've got a hat on.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned casting a while back in the mists of time. Should we talk about the rest of the cast? So we've already spoke about
Yes.
Daniel Craig and Josh O'Connor.
Whom we love, both of
whom
whom
we
we
both
love.
love. Excellent, very good. I suppose we just go down the list from the nobly provided by Wikipedia.com. Glenn Close is Martha Delacroix. I don't think you ever really mention a surname. Maybe do it once, didn't they? But anyway,
Probably,
she's
but
Martha.
I've forgotten about it.
Yeah, she's the church's right-hand woman. This is a big spoiler for now. So if you're still here after we've been telling you we're going to talk about spoilers for the last 20 minutes, then go away. But
Get out. I mean, bookmark this page for the love of God. Come back once you've watched it.
oh yeah, we love a bookmark. Does anyone still use bookmarks? Anyway, that's not relevant.
I do, but I'm old.
Well, Gen Z don't know what a bookmark is. I don't know if that's true at all. It's Glenn Close. What I think I found so impressive about this is that all the way through the mystery, up until the end, I still didn't know who was going to have done it. And then it turned out at the end, like it always does, that it is the most famous two people, actually, in this case. Like the most famous actors out of the lot were the murderers. And I still didn't see it coming.
See, I saw it coming, and then I convinced myself that that can't be the case. Once we meet Martha, I was kind of like, she's too intense. Surely she's got her hands in this mess. And then I was like, no, that's far too obvious. Nah, it's not going to be Martha. And then towards the end, I was like, oh, maybe it is.
I mean, it was actually such a smart move because her introduction is really funny as well when Josh O'Connor stood in the room and she just pops up behind him and he goes, Jesus. Also, speaking of, I laughed every time someone said Jesus or God and then went, oh, sorry. That joke will never get old. I love it.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good.
But like, because they set her up as like the weird sort of creepy assistant character who is like the classic red herring.
Yeah.
And then it turns out the red herring was the red herring. So she's actually the murderer, which is great. But yeah, I thought she was great as always, really. It's such like a earnest performance, I suppose. Quite creepy as well. I was getting a lot of like flashbacks to 101 Dalmatians and the witches and that sort of thing. But I did find her quite creepy to look at. Sorry, Glenn Close.
All right, calm down. Jesus.
She was scary.
Sorry. I don't know. Why? What's wrong with her?
She's very intense. She's got very intense eyes. And she's like just like stooped, and I'm sure she's lovely.
I'm just absolutely terrified that Glenn Close is watching this. And what's wrong with my eyes?
Glenn Close is definitely watching this. But she'd be happy.
Yeah, why wouldn't she be?
She's used her acting skills to have scary eyes. Very good. But who's she the right-hand woman of, Maria? She's the right-hand woman of Josh Brolin as, let me get this right, Monsignor?
Yes.
Monsignor Jefferson Wicks. Mm-hmm. Which I had to look up what Monsignor was, actually. And apparently, you don't get bestowed, like the title of Monsignor. You've got to have one of 3 classes of honors from the Pope. You've got to either have a protonotary apostolic.
That's a mouthful.
An honorary prelate, or you've got to be named a chaplain of His Holiness. So
I'm going to nod as if I know what any of those mean.
So, if you're looking to become a Monsignor, Maria, those are the 3 honors you've got to get first.
I'm okay.
There used to be 14 of them. There used to be a list of 14. They got rid of them, apparently.
Bloody hell.
I went on a bit of a deep dive. But, yes, he's a Monsignor and a bastard.
He's a masturbating Monsignor. That's what he is.
Or is he? I love that detail. That it's such a... it reminds me a lot of in the first Knives Out, where Anna de Armas's character, she's got a weird quirk that is every time she lies, she vomits. And I don't remember there being anything like that in Glass Onion. I just heard Josh O'Connor casually throws away, "I was looking for your files, and it turns out you've had this procedure that means it's physically impossible for you to masturbate. So I know that you were lying to me. And you're just doing it to bully me during our confession." I love that.
It's just a brilliant thing. How does Ryan Johnson was like, of all the things we could have the Monsignor lie about to torture Josh O'Connor's poor Revenant Judd, and it's masturbation.
Yeah.
Like, keep it classy, Ryan. We love it.
I do have to say, Netflix are going to be furious because this is going to ruin the Knives Outs. I think it was actually a really smart business decision of Netflix to book these two off Ryan Johnson, because they really nailed it a couple of years ago with Glass Onion. Just releasing it just before Christmas, or sort of around Thanksgiving time. In the UK anyway, that year, Glass Onion was the I'm going to watch this with my family when I go home for Christmas film. But this year, I'm sure you'll have lots of people tuning in, watching 5 minutes. It gets to the masturbation chat, and then Grandma goes, No.
One of my notes literally says, "This is a lot of penis for the first 15 minutes."
It goes really heavy.
Yeah. Even for me, I was like, damn.
It's a very intense penis chat. Apart from the penis stuff, which does disappear actually after a while, which I think is probably a smart decision.
Yeah, I didn't miss it. I have to say.
What did you think of Josh Brolin in general after that?
I thought it was very intense. He's great. He's so charismatic. And I do understand that, considering this is a Knives Out film, and Knives Out films are murder mysteries, this is impossible. But I really wanted to see Wicks meet Benoit Blanc. I thought that would have been amazing. And I understand because Wicks is dead, we can't have that. Could you imagine them two going off at each other? That would have been good.
That'd be fireworks. But there's a moment, the moment later on where you think that could be possible. Because I was genuinely convinced for a really long time that he was going to be like...
just walk out of the shadows.
Well, when it's the classic like locked door mystery thing where they come to the conclusion that, well, obviously no one could be in there with him. So he did it himself, and he's such a wrong'un that you sort of think, well, he's got his hand in this somehow. And that is a good red herring that they throw you by saying, oh, Wicks ordered the equipment to open the tomb like 2 days before he died. Yeah, so I thought for a really long time that he was going to be the murderer, and then when it turns out he isn't. And he has just been dead the whole time. It simplifies the plot and makes it more sort of interesting at the same time, I think. It's really good. But yeah, he's great at playing that sort of character. In a way, he's quite similar to his character in Weapons, in that they're both just very angry. But but he does have this kind of, I think just inherently, Josh Brolin's got this level of charisma where you could just you can't really take your eyes off him. So even in Weapons, it gets used to sort of get you on his side, even while you've seen him be nasty and horrible and useless to everybody. And then in this, it's like, oh, I can believe that he would be Donald Trump in a church.
Beg Ryan Johnson to write that film as well.
I don't mean to correct you, Maria. He literally just has.
But yeah, no. He is very good at that kind of intensity. But this is the thing. Knives Out is also very funny. There are times, well, most of the time, they are just taking the piss out of him as well.
Yeah.
And I am not an actor. I would be a terrible actor if I tried it. But I can imagine that it's also quite difficult to, again, toe that line between keeping it real and keeping it entertaining without going overboard. And I think Josh Brolin can do it on, I know we said this about Glenn Close, but also Josh Brolin, he has to go so much bigger with it. When he's there, like, preaching, the camera's, like, looking up at him and everything. It must be quite fun if you can actually do that and you can pull it off.
Yeah. He does a really good job of, escalating his performance in that way. Because, you can't, I was going to say you can't be too intense too early on, but then when he's on the pulpit and he's really, like, spitting the fire and brimstone, you're like, oh, God. He is actually quite scary.
He is.
Yeah, he's great. I don't think we'll go through the entire rest of the cast one by one.
No,
Because
no.
that'll take a very long time. There's loads of them.
Yeah,
But
probably.
did anyone else really stand out for you?
Yes, but
Not in a good
here's
way.
the thing. Yeah, no. I think everyone was great. I don't think there's necessarily a weak link. However, it's an absolute crime to cast Jeffrey Wright in your film and then only give him 2 scenes.
Yeah.
No, like come on. You show me Jeffrey Wright in the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, yes, let's go. Then you take him away. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
but that's what I love, because I love that Johnson's able to get so many sort of incredible character actors and just be like, yeah, you just come in for a couple of scenes, and everyone seems to be rubbing their hands at the idea. I mean, he got Stephen Sondheim to be in for 4 seconds in Glass Onion. Like it's just that sort of classic, like really starry film that will anyone just begs to be in at any point. Although, to be honest, if I was Jeffrey Wright, I'd be petitioning to come back for a bigger role in another film, because I feel like the fun of being a murder mystery is you've got to be a suspect or the murderer.
Yeah, yeah. Or Benoit Blanc, but that's Daniel
Or
Craig
Benoit
anyway.
Blanc, but that role is taken. I don't disagree with that, but then I think there's so many, like Andrew Scott as well. I sort of thought was maybe felt slightly underused. I mean, I think it is that if I did have one problem with the film, it is really that I don't think meant like the suspects are. I think they're all very good, and I think a lot of them are very entertaining to watch. I don't think any of the characters are quite as sort of sharply defined as the first Knives Out, as just one example,
Or even Glass
really.
Onion, I'd say. Because they're more, in Glass Onion, they're more stereotypical, I think. So it's easier to read them, and then that's how you believe their motives and why they did or didn't do it. But
Yeah.
was there someone who did stand out to you? Who kind of like did the best they could with very little?
I think Andrew Scott was good when he was on screen. I do think Glenn Close was great. I think Glenn Close is probably the clear standout of all the suspects. It's hard to say. Kaylee Spaney, I enjoyed. I think her character is a really interesting one. Kerry Washington as the lawyer, I don't know if her character never really felt like she had that sort of spark. I mean, if you think back to the first Knives Out, I mean, if you sort of conjure up any of the actors in that, I think like the interview scenes they have at the start of that, before Benoit Blanc comes on, where it's just cross-cutting between with Lakeith Stanfield interviewing each of the different members of the family, and each of them have about 1 or 2 lines, but those 1 or 2 lines just completely show you who they are. And I don't think Kerry Washington, I don't know what her 1 or 2 lines would be. Like, she's a lawyer, and she got made to be, her dad was a lawyer, and she got made to be a mum to this horrible right-wing influencer politician man. But she doesn't really get much outside of that.
Yeah, I think that not so much that the actors aren't great, but I think, yeah, the characters outside of Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, and Josh Brolin, I think they were all a little bit weak. I thought Mila Kunis as the police chief, she had pretty much nothing to do except show up, look annoyed, and then go off again. Didn't think Jeremy Renner was particularly good. I think it's more just, I think it's the writing, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to say that the characters just aren't very well defined, and we don't know who they are. So the actors don't have enough to kind of communicate that, enough time or space or whatever.
Jeremy Renner does spend a lot of the film looking a little sort of shocked, like sort of
Yeah,
stunned,
with a glass of whiskey.
a glass of whiskey, which is quite entertaining. And I think actually it's a real testament to how well made the film is that I didn't particularly care as I was watching it. I was still having such a good time, and I do think there's just enough in some of them. Like like I said, Kaylee Spaney's character, Simone, former concert cellist that sort of has chronic pain, has been trying to get the church to heal her, basically, so that she can get back to doing the job that she loved. I thought that's a really interesting character to have in that situation. And ducking into sort of the politics for a second, I really did enjoy how the first 45 minutes shows how Wix is preaching and messaging, and how, you know, one bad actor can sort of poison a community by making them afraid of different things, and sort of, yeah, making this really tight, close-knit unit of people sort of united by fear. And I thought they did a really good job of showing how each of them was being controlled in their own way. I thought that was really effective.
The gag with Simone when they're having that little group meeting and she gets up from the wheelchair, and I think is Glenn Close's Martha, who's like, "Oh my God, you can walk, you've been
It's
healed."
a miracle.
He's like, I can bloody walk. I thought
hurts.
it was so beautifully played out. I think moments like that are what really makes Knives Out such a fun watch.
Yeah. And I love that moment as well, because I think I think it's such a refreshing moment to show as well. Because I think, especially in terms of a lot of like disabled representation and things, I think it's a classic thing that you see on social media all the time or whatever, where it's kind of, I think people have this idea that, you know, if you've got mobility issues, that means that you can never use your legs ever. You can't walk anywhere. And for so many people, it's just I mean, I can, you know, stand up and get a cup of coffee off the coffee table, but I can't walk to the shops or anything. And, you know, not to just make it, isn't this nice to have got this kind of representation, but I think it's a really sort of nice thing that you don't really see in a lot of films. I think it works really well here and illustrates a really nice point. Also, I really liked, I don't know if he's necessarily a good character, but Samson. I thought
nice. Samson was the murderer at one point.
No, he's too nice.
Nah, I thought he might be because he loves Martha.
Yeah, but I trust him because he was Sandman in Spider-Man 3. But he was nice Sandman.
Yeah, so we move on.
he could never do evil.
No, Samson was great. He was sweet. I loved him with his little headphones in the church. That's cute.
So I think it's probably worth talking now about how it looks.
Yeah,
I said earlier that I had one problem with it. This is actually my second problem, and it's got nothing to do with... I would guess it's got nothing to do with anything that Rian Johnson or any of the filmmakers have done. And it's the Netflix look. Because...
The Netflix look.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think it looked as a film, Maria?
Again, we both said that we loved the film, and here we are talking about everything that we didn't like about it. So just to make it clear, loved the film. I think it's very, very good. That being said, I thought it looked really dull. I feel like there was no contrasts in it. I know there's the big thing with the light coming through the windows and everything, but sort of as a whole, it's just all kind of blends into one for me a little bit.
And we both saw it in the cinema, didn't we? Yes. So this is sort of in the context. I think it is very clearly a film that Netflix have decided to present for home viewing, really. I mean, they've clearly gone for their classic look that they have, which is designed to work on every TV you could ever imagine, TV, smartwatch, fridge, whatever, that you can find. Anything of a screen, they want it to work on that. And I think this has been a problem with Netflix for a while, where a lot of their stuff does look sort of undefinably similar. It's difficult to have a strong visual aesthetic if you've got a film that is made for Netflix.
But why? I mean, I'm about to go on a massive rant, but for some sort of personal reasons, I have some experience with people who they can't go to the cinema. So the fact that you've now got streaming and obviously you get films on digital and everything, that's amazing. That, a lot of people would like to go to the cinema, but they have physical restrictions, disabilities. Not every cinema is, accessible. So why, if Netflix is putting all this money in to make a Knives Out film, why do you make it look like that? Even if it is designed for for just home viewing, it still deserves to look just as good as the latest Marvel film or the latest Christopher Nolan film. At the end of the day, we do pay for Netflix, and prices are rising, or you
Yeah.
have to watch loads of ads.
I
So come on, give us
yeah.
a little something.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment. I would say aiming to look as good as the latest Marvel film is no longer the accolade it once was. I think I
Yeah, okay,
actually
you got
think
me
Wake Up
there.
Dead Man looks significantly better than the latest Marvel film. But which
What, Fantastic Four?
yeah.
Fantastic Four looked great. Mostly.
No, it looked fine.
Mostly.
It looked fine for the most part. And then Johnny Storm turns up and he just looks like a man stood in front of a candle. Sue Storm just starts vibrating. I don't know. Anyway, this isn't a let's dump on Fantastic Four chat, as much as I would like it to be. But it's I think so. I've tried looking into this multiple times, and I can never really get a straight answer with Netflix. I think part of it is that they insist on using a very limited number of cameras, so number of models of cameras. Sorry. So a lot of their stuff does end up looking similar because it's using the same camera technology, because they want to set standards for they can sort of reproduce across different mediums. And I do think a significant part of it is that problem we were mentioning earlier, where they want to appeal to as many audiences as possible, and that includes people who don't know how to change the settings on their TV, and their TV has, got motion smoothing and the brightness is down to 1% or whatever. And frankly, a lot of people won't notice. I mean, to pick on motion smoothing for a second, the number of times you go around to, I've been around to people's houses and they turn on the TV and I go, oh no, it's got motion smoothing on. It's filling in the blanks between the frames. It looks horrible. And then I point it out and they go, then they have no idea what I'm talking about and they make me leave.
They look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah. And then I start tearing the wallpaper off and they kick me out of their house. But
I mean, in that sense, I am on their side. If you start ripping out their wallpaper, maybe you should go home.
Yeah, maybe I should. So I think that's the reason why they're happy to generally overlight, oversaturate everything. I was also talking to a director earlier today who was mentioning that he seemed to think it was an effect added in post. So it's not necessarily that, Rian Johnson hasn't forgotten how to shoot and light a film. I actually think that a lot of the shots in this are really well constructed. We mentioned the light falling on the cross earlier. I think everything's framed really well and has the potential to look great. It's just afterwards, something's done in the processing to whack the brightness up and smooth out all of the contrast, which just looks really ugly. I say really ugly. This is by far not the most egregious form of this in recent memory. Thursday Murder Club. That was a genuine cough for a start. But it is disappointing because I think it's more disappointing because it could look spectacular, and instead, it just it looks okay.
I mean, it's the equivalent of cooking and making like a sauce, and tasting is like, there's actually taste of something. Let me add loads of water to tone it down.
I didn't know where you were going with that, and I thought you were going to say like take out the salt. And I don't know how you. I'm going to de-salt and pepper it. What does that mean?
That's why I do it every day.
This is why I'm bad at cooking. Yeah, but you pointed out before we were recording as well, there's a really great joke at Netflix expense in this film. Oh, it's not. It's a nice dig saying, oh, this will be on Netflix.
But it's true.
And there'll be idiots playing all of our characters, which...
It's true, though.
Yeah. I think my thing with that joke is that I think if that was in a film that... Because you've sort of seen that joke many times in shows that are actually like based on true story. If it was actually based on a true story, I think I'd find it really annoying. And yeah, I think there's some great lines. I think the script in general, I think, was a lot tighter than Glass Onion felt. I mean, I personally felt Glass Onion didn't really nail the ending. particularly, I thought that was sort of felt slightly whiffed. Whereas this time round, it felt like a well-constructed box. Everything just all fit together very nicely. And so
Which
I
is what you
skipped out
want.
the cinema. Yeah.
You did skip out. That is true.
Yeah.
No, I agree that this did come to a very kind of satisfying close. And I did like that whole again, I
A
did
Glenn
think
close.
oh, exactly. I
Ooh.
do think even then it did kind of I think this is quite talky. For a film that's 2 hours and 20 minutes,
Yeah,
the
something like that.
pacing's a little off, maybe. Again, I feel like I'm criticizing this a lot, but I really did love this film, I promise.
It's good. We're just too bitter and grumpy.
But maybe that's the beauty of this, that there are all these flaws that we can't really deny, and we still loved the film. We were still entertained by it, and we could, because I think film reviewing or any kind of criticism, it is, everyone disagrees on loads of films. For what's 5 stars for you could easily be a 1 star for me, and I kind of think it sometimes comes to your ability to overlook the flaws. There is no such thing as a perfect film, really, objectively.
Yeah.
So it just comes to this, like, is this film so good that I am willing to overlook the flaws, that all the positives outweigh them? And I think that's maybe what makes this a really good film, is that, yes, there are loads of bits that don't quite make sense. Like, Benoit Blanc never wears bloody gloves when he's literally handling evidence. But that's fine, because I don't care.
Really good in gloves. I think gloves would really suit his aesthetic as well.
Yeah. If he did like rubber gloves, he could do like the little snap of a glove. That's really satisfying.
Oh no, he'd have like special driving gloves.
Special driving
like leather driving gloves that he'd put on that are all special for that. But yeah, I think I agree. I think it's like it's like the Raiders of the Lost Ark effect, because I think it's the internet's favorite pastime to point out, oh, Raiders, if you took India out of Raiders of the Lost Ark, everything would just happen the same way anyway. So there's no point, and that might be objectively true. But then when you're watching it, you don't care. You're like, yeah, this is just pure. It's so well made that it is just like you can ignore what could on the surface be quite a big plot hole. And instead, you just get swept up in kind of the magic, which is why I disagree, actually, and think there is such thing as a perfect film, and it is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Anyway, and on that note, I think that's just about time to end, would you say?
We've come to the conclusion that Wake Up Dead Man is a really, really good film, and we both loved it.
And also, we found many problems with it, which we discussed at length. But no, I couldn't stop grinning for like... I was on cloud 9 for the whole day after that film. On that note, it's time to end this latest edition of Spoiler Chat. Thank you for making it all the way to the finish line with us. Please tune in again when we do more of these on whatever film tickles our fancy next. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is probably where you're watching this, I don't think it goes anywhere else, does it? So if you found our YouTube channel, well done. Keep subscribed. Click all the buttons. You know how YouTube works. Thank you for making it this far. I'm going to say goodbye. It's goodbye from me, James Harvey.
And bye from me, Maria Lattila. Bye.
Bye. See you all later. How do we fix that ending?
No, I think leave it like that. I think that's great. It's like a gag reel.
It's like a gag reel, but less professional. It's
fine. We can put Daniel Craig in and then cut to this. I think that's great. Just leave that in. Let me stop recording.